With floating reeds and coral show for fish and shell, and mighty well for your gifts of thanks we pour. The children playing on the shore, their sounds of laughter which we hear. Their love increasing more and more, remind us God is near. The buds which bend toward the sky, the clouds which hurry to and fro, the birds which fly, both low and high, give joy to earth, give joy to earth below, Pacifica, Pacifica, with dropping reeds and coral shore for fish and shell, and mighty well for your gifts of thanks we pour.
So now when you say the word love, the first images that come to mind are these images of, a man falling in love with a woman and all of this. What are the images that come to your mind when you visualize the love that a parent has for the child? Unconditional. Caring. Justice. Painful. Very painful.
Dr. Duane Moran, professor at Murdoch University, Perth, Australia, gave workshops.
Letting go at the right time.
Now, all these terms that you're talking about, now that to me is a much closer depiction of the type of love that we need to have in the Cook Islands. It's a love which is born in sacrifice. We have a great desire to see the people in the Cook Islands succeed in their lives, to see the well-being of this island established. At the same time, we see a lot of trends in the islands which concern us. Out of our love for the people, we see the same type of materialism, which has overtaken our own societies. We see that same disease that has overtaken our own cultures. And we see that playing out at a different pace, with a different rhythm, but we see that playing out in the Cook Islands as well. A good friend of mine who is no longer with us, Kauraka, who used to come to many of the meetings. And he was, of course, an anthropologist, and he would study the islands. And in my own research, I used to talk to him a lot about what's happening in the Cook Islands. And he gave me a quote once, which I just loved. He said, "Our little island has suddenly become big." Used to be that the island was much closer. And now people are getting distracted. They're getting distracted by all the things that materialism brings. And many of those are good. Better health care, that's a good thing. Better roads, that might be a good thing. But also at the same time, as those distractions occur, some of that culture, some of that magic is lost. And all of us share this concern, particularly for the new generations. So the healing message of Baha'u'llah is the key to securing the future of the well-being of the Cook Islanders.
We decided to select a virtue or quality of the person that was most prominent, and then each one looked at how that person's quality could have been stifled and then how that person's quality could be encouraged.
This is like obedience to the laws of Baha'u'llah, obedience to the administrative order. Obedience is a very important thing. And the biggest stifler of obedience is disobedience. So,
Prayerful attitude. I believe a lot of us only pray when we hit a concrete post. When we have ice cream every day, we don't sit down and pray. Is that right?
The first time I heard about the Cook Islands, I had actually been at a youth conference. And then there came this point at this conference where they read a message from the Universal House of Justice. And the message announced that for the first time in history, a head of state had consulted with the Universal House of Justice. And that this had happened in response to the peace statement, and that person was Sir Tom Davis, who was Prime Minister of the Cook Islands. And this was a very, very powerful moment. You really felt that you were there at a point in time when history was being made. And I said, I wonder where the Cook Islands is. And I had never heard of the Cook Islands, had no idea which ocean it was in. I knew it must be in an ocean.
Great. It's a great spirit having all the friends here from all over the Pacific and beyond. It's just, we've never had this kind of thing before, so it's just awesome.
So I think that's a total of about 16 years on Mapuke. So very much enjoyed it. Beautiful people, friendly children. Kids are just beautiful in school. They have a hunger to learn and very well behaved and enjoyed every moment of it.
Then came that very special moment, the commemoration of the 50 years of the Bahá'í Faith in the Cook Islands.
It was attended by the Queen's representative and his wife, the former Queen's representative and his wife, the current Prime Minister of the Cook Islands and his wife, the head of the Religious Advisory Council, the chiefs of the island of Rarotonga, and many, many other wonderful guests.
Prayer for unity in Maori. E taku atua, e taku atua. Ta okotai te ngā koutou au tāpiri. I te akamaaranga, I te rāmaata no te akononga Baha'i. Te rimonga oru anga mataiti o te taimeanga te akononga Baha'i ki roto nei I te kuhi aren.
I was trying to act earlier, what I think Te Paki did when he received the gospel in Aitutaki on the 26th of October in 1821. And then 182 years later, after he held Christianity for the Cook Islands, the Baha'i Faith landed again in Aitutaki. Would that be a coincidence, or is Aitutaki the gateway?
50 years since the arrival of the first believer in Baha'u'llah in this area. Of course, at this time, during this year and next year, there will be a number of nations around the world celebrating their 50th anniversary, and the Cook Islands is one of the first to do this. According to the Encyclopedia Britannica yearbook in 1999, the Baha'i Faith is the fastest growing world religion in terms of its adherents. It's also the most widely spread geographically. The Baha'i Faith is established in over 180 countries. Its writings are translated into many more than 1,000 different languages and dialects, as we've already heard here today. The Baha'i administration is established, well established, in over 50,000 localities around the world. So you can see that the Baha'i Faith has a claim to be a world religion.
Nā mai haere mai, ki tēnei hui a tātou no reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou tātou katoa. Your Excellency, Right Honourable Prime Minister, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen and fellow Baha'is. Welcome from the National Spiritual Assembly of Baha'is of Aotearoa, New Zealand. It is indeed a privilege for me to be its representative here. I thought it was befitting that I say a brief mihi in New Zealand Māori for two reasons. One is to recognise the ancient traditions between our two lands, and two is because I'm a 16th Māori myself, even though the whakapapa of the Pākehā has watered down the ink on the outside quite considerably. In recognition of those ancient traditions as well, I find it interesting to drive around Rarotonga and to see names like Takitimu, which is the waka, which the name of the waka which my whakapapa originates from and my tupuna were from. I find it also to, even though many Māori in New Zealand might dispute with me, to recognise the connections, which I know a few years ago a genetic study was done and it traced New Zealand Māori through the Cook Islands, through Hawaii, back through all the way to China. And in fact, rather irreverently, the New Zealand Herald article that reported it stated, Māori is made in Taiwan. The Baha'is also that have come to this land from New Zealand and from elsewhere have also made a contribution to the social and the economic life of the community. We don't have any priests in the Baha'i faith. No one gets paid for being a Baha'i, unfortunately. We don't have the situation taking place. So Baha'is have to work, and they have to work, and they have to make a contribution to the community that they're in, and they get paid for that, and the work which they do in a spiritual sense belongs to God, and God pays them in whichever way He sees fit. The key teaching and key ingredient of the Baha'i faith, that is the establishment of bonds of love and affection between all humanity. And it's that which we share with you, and it's that for which we congratulate you on this, the 50th anniversary of the appearance of the Baha'i faith in the Cook Islands.
چگونه تو را شکر نماییم.
Where are we going from here? Would we be going forward, or are we going to backtrack? I believe every individual, not only in this group, every individual in the Cook Islands are or have the key to what country we would want for the future, for ourselves if we are lucky to be here, most importantly for our future generations. If we base everything that we do, everything that we plan, we can be the best planners on earth. There's only one best planner in the world. I believe if we base everything we do, whether it be looking after children or cleaning in the hotel, wherever, on the road, if we do it for one person, we'll have the best country in the South Pacific. So it's a challenge, firstly to the Baha'is and to all of us, whether you're a Baha'i or not. We are the hair, the strands of hair of this country. May God bless you all. Thank you.
Pononga awaka malamatia I te pūtake o tō tikanga.
In 1953, the head of the Bahá'í Faith, Shoghi Effendi, set in motion a 10-year crusade whereby he called for the Baha'is to arise from their homelands and settle in over 130 countries and islands and territories throughout the world where there were no Baha'is living. In response to this call, 2 Baha'i ladies, one from America and a New Zealander living in Australia at that time, independently answered this call and arose and chose to come to the Cook Islands. Edith Danielson was the American Baha'i. She was a 45-year-old widow, and she arrived on the island of Aitutaki. I think few people realize that that's really where she first landed, in the Cook Islands. 50 years ago, this day, the 14th of October 1953. The second lady who came, her name was Dulcie Dive, and as I said before, she was a New Zealander living in Australia at the time, and she arrived in Rarotonga by boat by the harbor at Avarua on the 18th of January 1954. These 2 ladies spent the first year that they were here living at the Hotel Rarotonga, which all of you who here now know has the sign Banana Court across the front. They found all of the people of the Cook Islands very open, very friendly, and very open to the teachings of unity and diversity and to the broad scope of universal spiritual concepts. The result of this was that by the time of Dulcie Dive's untimely death in 1962, there were 30 indigenous Cook Islanders who had become Baha'is. And the first administrative institution of the Baha'is of the Cook Islands was formed, and it was called the Local Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of Rarotonga. Nan Greenwood arrived in 1972, 1973, and of course Nan, you know, is now still living here. She's living on Mauki, and this is her 30th year of being in the Cook Islands. By this time, the Cook Island community had truly joined the world community, the World Baha'i Faith, and the international body of the head of the faith is called the Universal House of Justice. Once every 5 years, this body is elected in Haifa, in Israel, on Mount Carmel, referred to in the Bible as the Vineyard of the Lord. I think it's very interesting to know that the 9 members of the national administrative body of the Cook Islands, they go to the World Center there, to Mount Carmel, and they participate equally in an election with now up to about 180 or so other national countries of the world, 9 people from the Cook Islands, 9 people from the United States, 9 people from Samoa, 9 people from Russia, 9 people from Iceland, regardless of the size or the population of those countries. They all send 9 people to participate in that election.
I never met so many different people like this in my whole life. And today, seeing people, oh my God, I'm really overwhelmed with it.
Today we celebrate these years of Baha'i growth and remember the 2 Knights of Baha'u'llah, Edith Danielson and Dulcie Dive, who started this process. The first 2 people who became Baha'is, Twaini Karata'oa and Rima Nicholas, and all of those other servants who followed that path.
Oh, clap your hands, O ye people. Shout unto God with a voice of triumph. Why? Why are we to clap? You know why. We have come to the 50th anniversary of the arrival of Baha'u'llah religion in the Cook Islands. So let us clap. All clap your hands, holy people. Shout unto God with the voice of triumph.
Everyone has a story, and the many heartwarming events shared at these celebrations have been wonderfully inspiring. Proof that respectful love amongst diverse peoples is not only possible, but is part of the new world. But it is to Baha'u'llah, God's messenger for this time, that this day truly belongs. For it is Baha'u'llah's pivotal principle of the oneness of mankind, which all the Baha'i teachings are centered around, that has brought us here together today, honoring our love and respect for God and each other, unity in diversity, linked with bonds of love. And the Baha'is, not only in the Cook Islands, but Baha'is all over the world, are thankful and grateful to God for this blessing.
Happy birthday, Baha'is of the Cook Islands.
Dinner is now served.
One of the great things about these celebrations is actually the unity of diversity of the diversity of cultures, of nationalities, of races coming together to celebrate what essentially is the great teachings from God through the prophet founder of the Bahá'í Faith, Baha'u'llah, whose name means the glory of God. Who teaches unity and love and unity, one family, one world, one planet.
As wonderful as all of these events are here on Rarotonga, our highlight was going back home to Aitutaki and connecting with everybody there and knowing that we had really never left and reaching so many wonderful hearts there. This is a beautiful place and we want to come back. I come from the Baha'i community of Papua New Guinea, and the love and greetings of over 40,000 Baha'is from that land come to you through us on this special occasion.
We extend to you our loving greetings on the occasion of the 50th anniversary of the Baha'i Faith in the Cook Islands. We in the Pacific share a common heritage when some 50 years ago our islands became home to many heroic souls who arose to bring the message of Baha'u'llah to our far-flung islands. Our prayers join yours as we reflect on the progress we have made in the past 50 years and endeavor to build on our accomplishments. With loving Baha'i greetings, the National Spiritual Assembly of the Baha'is of Samoa.
I'd like to briefly mention a historical connection. God works in mysterious ways, and suddenly the concourse on high, and the spirit and the souls of those who have gone on to the Upper Kingdom are sent here blessed. I'd like to point out that one of the connections between Tonga and the Cook Islands is that the first Baha'i in Tonga was actually from the Cook Islands.
We held our first summer school in Pa'ariki's house in Matavira, when Nan Greenwood was living, and we were all sleeping on the floor. Sessions outside were under the trees. We raised funds for a year to take 8 Baha'is to the 77 Baha'i World Conference in Auckland. And there are photo records of this event in the New Zealand archives. We even flew over sacks of tipani, frangipani, and handed them out on the last night after the group's singing, flooding the Auckland town hall with their perfume. A group of Cook Island Baha'is attended the Samoan Temple Foundation stone ceremony, blessed by the presence of Ruya Kanu. Also present was the King of Samoa. And some of us also attended the dedication of the Samoan Baha'i Temple on its completion.
My sincere and warmest expression of thanks goes to the members of the Baha'i Faith.
This much blessed house of worship, now opening wide its doors to peoples of all creeds, of all races, of all nations, and of all classes, is dedicated to the three fundamental verities animating and underlying the Baha'i faith: the unity of God, the unity of His prophets, the unity of mankind.
Kia ora, my name is Tua. I was born in Mahaya and I'm living here at the moment in Rarotonga. And for this celebration, it's been great, especially with friends from all over the world sharing their views. Congratulations on the Baha'i communities of the Cook Island. That was really moving.
We hope you enjoyed watching and sharing with us the commemoration of 50 years of the Baha'i Faith in the Cook Islands.
Me taki maata e kia manuia. Please join us again for the next Baha'i On Air program.
I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you. I hear babies cry and I watch them grow. They'll learn much more than we'll know, and I think to myself, what a wonderful world. Someday I wish upon a star, wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where trouble melts like lemon drops, high above the chimney top. That's where you'll find me, oh, somewhere over the rainbow, bluebirds fly, and the dreams that you dare to